Welcome into the Skinny Podcast, the weekly potpourri edition. I'm Richard Skinner, Local12.com digital sports columnist and editor with Rick Boring. As always, it's presented by Blake, the attorney Maislin. We are in the sizzling part of summer, Rick. You know, I did this podcast last week outdoors because we were getting the carpets cleaned. It looks so nice out, but I stepped out with we have a new puppy. I took her out this morning, and it was a blast furnace at like 6:30 in the morning. It's enough.
Hold on a second. We were about to start this podcast a few minutes ago, and I just said, do you have anything going on in your life? You have any stories? You have anything to share? You go, no, nothing. And then we start the podcast 10 seconds later, and you say, I've got a new puppy. What are we doing? How is that not shareable? Like, what kind of dog is it? What do we got going on here?
It's a Shih Tzu. We're a Shih Tzu family.
Oh, back in the Shih Tzu. All right.
She weighs about 3 pounds, and she's been awesome. She has a little tiny bladder, so we got to keep scooping her up when she starts sniffing around and getting her outside real quick. And feels like we're doing that every hour. But it's funny, man. She'll play hard for like 30 minutes. I mean, she'll go at it, and then within a blink of an eye, out for about an hour. It's the damnest thing I've ever seen.
Nice. So that's a true puppy. You're starting from the beginning.
She's 8 weeks old.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to be a fun next 2 years as she tears up things in your house, and we can talk about that on the podcast. So good. Let's start with the Reds, Skinny. Chase Burns' debut on Tuesday night was the story of the week, Cincinnati-wide and in sports. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 3 runs on 6 hits with no walks and 8 strikeouts. He did strike out the first 5 batters of the game as well. The Reds came back to win that game in extra innings. Give me your thoughts while watching Chase Burns' debut.
It wasn't quite as electric as Ellie's, but it was damn close, right? I mean, he turned it into that, I guess. I guess there was, for whatever reason, there was probably more hype around Ellie because he, been in the minors for a couple of years prior. That's where Chase Burns literally started this year in high A, went to double A, went to triple A, went really quick. And it didn't look like, in fact, we talked about this last week on the podcast, when would you bring him up? Will you bring him up? What's that going to look like? And between that podcast and this podcast, they brought him up. If those of you who had not seen him pitch before, maybe you saw him in college. I saw him a couple times in college last year. I mean, his stuff is just electric. He threw a 92-mile-an-hour slider to Aaron Judge that was just ridiculous. Now, I will tell you, if Aaron Judge had caught up to one of his fastballs, he might have hit it 500 feet, but he didn't. And, I mean, what can you imagine even scripting that out, that you're going to face the storied New York Yankees with 3 MVPs at the top of their lineup? You're going to strike out the side, and then you're going to get 2 more to start the next inning off, and then end up technically striking out the next 3 batters in that second inning, but 2 in a row to start. I don't think you could have written that in a script, could you?
No. And Skinny, like the thing with Aaron Judge to end that first inning, it's like, okay, you struck out the first 2 guys. Now you get to face Aaron Judge. That's a moment as a rookie making your debut where it's like, okay, this is real. And you're trying to, the interesting thing about Chase Burns, and I wanted to get your take on this too, is not like his stuff is electric. It's hard, it's moving, but not a ton of great off-speed stuff I didn't see. Does that concern you at all that he didn't seem to have a go-to off-speed pitch?
Does he need one?
I don't know, but typically it seems like it's more like bullpen guys that rely on fastball slider only.
Yeah, I mean, there's about an 8 to 9 mile an hour difference on his slider. So
and it's awesome. The slider's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if I told you a guy threw 96, that's still throwing hard. And if I told you his slider was 88, that sounds more off speedy, right? Now there's a 8 mile an hour, 9 mile an hour difference between the two, and maybe he will eventually, to get through a lineup 3 times, have to come up with something along those lines. But I'm not touching it right now. And I know this is a different era, but Mario Soto got by on fastball changeup. I mean, the arm motion was the same. It was about probably 15 miles an hour different. I think he's just one of those guys that fastball just gets on you so quickly that's hard to adjust. I mean, the kid from Milwaukee that came up, I mean, he feels like all he does is pump 100 mile an hour fastballs in there with a lot of movement. I know he's got more than that. But no, I don't think. I think if that was concerning to the Reds, they would have left him in Louisville. That if this is more, hey, we need to refine him more, they'd have left him there. I think they felt like he was already refined.
I'm curious to see what it looks like over his next 3 or 4 starts. Does he get a little more comfortable? Does he settle in? Does he start to change up how he's pitching guys? Because it did seem like the second time through the lineup, the Yankees were onto him a little bit. Obviously, they scored the 3 runs the second time around, and they hit him around that. What was it, the 3rd or 4th inning there where he got beat around a little bit? But the best part about that was he got out of it and stayed in the game afterwards. And that, to me, was a great response because it's like, okay, you start off on fire the way you did. And again, going back to that first inning, you face Aaron Judge and you're able to strike him out to end your first inning. That's an incredible feeling. But, as you go and these guys are getting on base all of a sudden and things aren't going well and you start to feel the pressure, it gets a lot more difficult to pitch with confidence, and you're not ahead in the count all of a sudden, and you got to make some pitches to get yourself out. And he was able to do that. He didn't seem worked up. He didn't seem to lose any confidence. That's the one thing that really stood out to me. This guy thinks he's really good.
Well, yeah. I can't remember who reported this or where I heard this. But they were hoping to keep him in Louisville, to have him have a start where he had to face adversity, or have a game where he didn't pitch pretty well, see how he bounced back. And that, finally at the point they needed a starting pitcher, and they're like, let's just see. And he kind of faced adversity in that one inning and handled it pretty darn well. So maybe they got what they wanted out of that. An electric start, a guy that you can have, you're going to be counting on for the next how many ever years, but also a guy that got a chance to see what he did when he handled adversity or faced adversity.
Yeah, and granted, he left the game trailing 3-0. The fact that the team was able to come back and win that one in extras for all the fans that were sitting out there in 100-degree temps was pretty awesome. It seemed like one of those games that was really fun to be at. I don't know that I would have wanted to be there sweating through it initially, but the extra innings, the way it ended, that was pretty cool. Skinny, part of that, and it's been brought up a lot, especially after that win, is the talk about this players only meeting that happened earlier in the month. You had Gavin Lux and Jose Trevino doing a players only meeting where they were talking about drawing on their postseason experience. They were talking about like, hey, be up at the top rail, cheering each other on, be more engaged in the game, those types of things. What is your take when you hear that? Since then, the Reds have obviously been playing their best baseball of the season, but do you buy into the team-led meeting, closed-door meeting?
I don't. I mean, I roll my eyes at those things. The only thing I will say about them is this. If it makes the players feel like it's something to rally around and a starting point and a way to get a fresh start, and then, to their credit, respond to playing well, then okay, good for them. But, usually those things to me are roll your eye moments. You're grasping for something, and hey, now we're going to rally around it. Well, okay, so they did. They rallied around it, and they've taken it. I think they're now, after last night, 12-6 since that players only meeting. So, all right, if it worked, if it felt like it worked mentally, good for them. But is that the reason Matt McLain started to hit better? Is that the reason Ellie started to play like a superstar? I'm going to say no to both of those. But again, if it makes them feel like it was a starting point and a fresh start point, it's certainly proven to be.
You know where I thought Gavin Lux's leadership really showed up? When he got that game-winning walk-off hit in extra innings. I thought that was better leadership maybe than the closed-door meeting. That probably mattered more to the team. Like, Gavin Lux, be healthy, be on the field, and get hits. That's the leadership they need more than anything.
Yeah, people. I know people get mad at me when I do this, and the people talk about how important chemistry is. Chemistry doesn't mean a damn thing in baseball, in my opinion. You know what?
100% accurate.
Your chemistry is not going to help me hit that 92-mile-an-hour slider. It's me against him. It is literally an individual game within a team game. Are there some team things you can do? Can you be a good teammate? Can you be a good clubhouse guy? Sure. But I've never bought into that thing. I think it's hokey. I think it's something that fans try to cling to. It's the same thing in football. They came out, they played flat today. No, they probably didn't execute. The flat thing, that's probably not there. They got to play with more panic. Come on, give me a break.
They didn't come ready to play. They were more ready.
Yeah, whatever.
I love that. Skinny, here's the funny thing about the players-only meeting blowing up again this year. We've done this each of the last two seasons. When the team stunk, Luke Maley led a players-only meeting that was publicized each of the last two seasons, where all the players were like, oh yeah, Luke really gave us good talk and changed the tone in the clubhouse, and we're on the right path now. And then like 3 weeks later, they stunk again. So, I mean, I'm just not buying in the players-only meeting. I'm not saying they're not playing better baseball. I'm not saying Gavin Lux and Jose Trevino can't be good leaders. I'm not even saying that there isn't some level of like camaraderie and magic that there's the new Shih Tzu on camera if you're watching on YouTube.
There it is.
Just popped. Is that why you've been bending over every 3 seconds, getting off your feet?
She keeps rubbing into my feet.
Yeah. Well, I do think there is something to be said for like some teams catch fire, they're playing good baseball, they rally around each other, and it's fun to be around. Like that does happen. There are clubhouses and locker rooms that play better because they're loose and they're having fun together. If this somehow leads to that, then okay, maybe. But like the players only meeting thing, it's every single year we have to hear about this BS, and it never seems to turn out to anything.
Yeah, no, part of the reason you're winning right now is you got guys playing better and you've gotten some guys healthier. And those are the things of why you're winning games. But again, if they felt like this was a fresh start, all right, let's put the past behind us. Let's do some of these little things. Let's do some of these things better. and they go out and do it, okay, then again, it worked to some extent. But I don't think it's the whole match-like turnaround for that.
Matt McClain looked at Ellie. Ellie looked at Matt McClain, and they said, "Win one for the Gipper." I mean, like, what are we doing? The team is 42-39 now, fourth place in the NL Central, 5.5 games back of the Cubs. They are playing better baseball, 12-6 in their last 18. But is it discouraging at all when you look at that and they go on a run? They're a few games over 500 now. And after all that, they're still sitting in fourth in the NL Central. Is that part of it, that the division is so good this year, discouraging?
No, no, because they've gotten themselves back in it with this level of good play. If you sustain this current level of play, and I don't think you're going to play 667 baseball the rest of the season, that's the 12-6 run that they're currently on. You're going to start leapfrogging teams in a hurry. But, you just do the double up math portion of this, 84-78. I thought 90 would win this thing. I think I predicted 88 when the year started. I mean, you're really not far off of that pace if you continue to play the way you're playing. And, at some point you're going to get Noelvi Marte back up here. You're going to get Austin Hayes back. Hopefully Hunter Green is back. My guess would be they probably hold him through the All-Star break. And, and suddenly, I mean, you have a really formidable rotation, 1 through 5, with Brady Singer being 5 and Nick Martinez being back, I think, in the role of the bullpen guy, the super 3 or 4 inning guy, which I think is his best role.
It's funny because I think you can look at this team and think it's what's going on right now. This 12-6 run is very fragile. Like, you could say Andrew Abbott's not going to continue this pace. What if Hunter Green doesn't come back or doesn't get healthier, doesn't respond? Does Ellie cool off again? Does he go through a slump after being so hot through this stretch? You could say that, but you can also just point out what you just pointed out, like, the pitching is actually good this year. It's not like 2 years ago when the pitching stunk. Mo Egger talked about that a lot yesterday, where this pitching staff is actually a strength for this team, which is a huge difference from where they were at when people were starting to get excited 2 years ago. And to me, that's the most exciting part. But then you mentioned all those names who could come back, get healthy, could start playing better. Like, Matt McClain is just now starting to play some good baseball again. We've been waiting to see that since what he flashed 2 seasons ago. That part of it could go either way in terms of that narrative, right? You could say what they're doing right now is very fragile and could fall off, but you could also say, hey, this team could still get better this year, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, because I've seen Matt McClain do it for a fairly long stretch of the 2023 season, right?
And Hunter Green's the biggest one. I mean, when he comes back, right. It'll change everything.
No question. I mean, again, you put a rotation, and again, do I think Andrew Abbott's going to finish this season with an ERA below 2? Probably not. But it has been incredible to watch. You put a rotation of Hunter Green, Lodolo, Abbott, Chase Burns, and Brady Singer. Probably the only weak link is Brady Singer, and that's a pretty good weak link if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, that's a 5th pitcher.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the Reds here, Skinny?
No, I will say, I mean, I think you saw the combination of the Yankees, right, being in town, and the combination of them playing better baseball and then backing it up with that comeback win and winning the series from the Yankees. I just think it does show how much buzz there can be when you start to play winning baseball. Again, I know the Yankees had something to do with that, right? They're a national drawing card. Aaron Judge is a national drawing card.
Right.
But I would hope the Castellans look at that and go, all right, what do we need to do at the trade deadline to keep this thing rolling? Because fans will show up for this stuff. They showed it in 2023. I mean, they came out in droves when that team was when they brought all the kids up and they played great. I just hope they look at that and decide, all right, you know what? Let's go for this. Might cost us some money. I mean, I'll give them this. It was a good sign. I think that they said enough with Jamer Candelario. We've already got a sunken cost there. Why keep battling with this? I think if they'd have kept him on the roster, it sometimes forces your hand of, we're paying him, we got to play him. And when it came down to it, it's like, no, he's not any good anymore, and we don't think, and we've already sunk the cost, so we'll eat the $20-some-odd million that's left and let him go. And I think that's at least a good sign. Now, maybe it'll be a sign that's why they can't go out and get another bat because they've already sunk that cost. But again, that was sunken cost anyway. So that was a positive step in my opinion.
Skinny, they're doing this, but they're still, we just mentioned, they're still 4th in the NL Central. The weather is unbearable right now. You call up a rookie and the whole city responds. Like you said, I mean, the city was electric and everyone's buzzing about it for 48 hours, especially after you win that game in extra innings. You're 100% right about that. This fan base is so incredibly loyal to the Reds. It's almost unreasonable at this point, considering the lack of success and the fact that it seems like you don't get a lot for them, going back to the where you're going to go comments. And yet people are still engaged and they're ready to go. if they can find a way to get this thing rolling into August and September. And I was listening to Mo yesterday. He's saying, I think this is like a team. It's not get us to Bengals training camp. He's like, I think we'll be paying real attention to them in August and September. If that's really the case, I think the city will be electric come this fall. When you've got the Reds finishing up, if they're still in it and the Bengals are starting, I mean, that's going to be a great time in the sports calendar for Cincinnati fans.
No question. No question.
All right, this is probably going to be a shorter podcast. We don't have a lot more after the Reds. A few Bengals topics to get to here. We got some Ask Skinny Anything. That's fine. We got a lot going on both sides here, so we'll keep this one shorter. Skinny, did you watch the trailer for the second season of Quarterback on Netflix?
I did.
What were your thoughts?
He just doesn't do it for me, I guess. I don't know why. There's just something about him that just seems
boring?
Just plastic.
He wants to be boring.
Yes.
Like, I think he tries to do this thing where, like, if I'm boring and I don't give you as much of myself, it makes me more interesting or something, like less is more type of deal. It seems to be kind of his vibe. But it's interesting that nationally, people are so interested in him. Like, he's almost got that like Ellie vibe where everyone thinks he's cool and they want him at all these things. They want him at these fashion shows and stuff. And it's weird to me because he has no personality, really. I mean, I shouldn't say no personality. We don't see much from him. He doesn't do a lot that's interesting. I'm fascinated to see how they do that. I mean, they've got him talking about his Batmobile. Feels like maybe we'll hear about the girlfriend a little bit, possibly. Or do you think we'll get anything out of that?
Well, we saw a picture of her, right? And him wearing those douchey pants that he had on in
New York, like they're official now.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what else.
I wrote a story on this because he talked about that, the fashion show, kind of stepping out of his comfort zone a little bit. And maybe that's what he's doing here is kind of because he initially last year when the topic came up, when the first season of Quarterback came out, I can't remember what press conference it was. It might have been one of the ones right around training camp time. It might have been the first one we had with him in training camp because the first season was out at that point. And he was asked, would you consider doing it? And he's like, nah, I don't know. Not now. Well, he winds up doing it basically now.
He said it was because Peyton Manning asked him.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So I mean, I get that. I guess if Peyton Manning comes to me and asks me to do something, I'd probably be like, all right, if I'm a quarterback in the NFL, I'm probably going to do what Peyton Manning tells me to do.
I didn't see season 1. I'll probably dip my toe into season 2 just to see what it's like. But
what did you think of the first season? Because I didn't watch it.
I didn't. No, I did. That's what I said. I didn't. I didn't watch
it. Okay.
No, I had no interest. It was nobody of interest to me. Kirk Cousins is back for a second year on it, and
I know people love these series because there's like the golf one.
I love the golf one. And I had friends of mine that hated the golf one. I love the golf one.
Yeah, I don't know if you call them documentaries or what they are, but I don't get as excited about these as everyone else does. Like even Hard Knocks is a similar thing, which is pretty cool at first, but like I'm getting to the point where, okay, we've seen it enough times. I don't know how many more meetings I need to see of guys getting cut from a team or whatever. I guess there are some football moments from last year that could be pretty revealing and pretty interesting with the Bengals as they're going down that stretch, trying to make the playoffs. That's probably the coolest part of this show is seeing what was going on in Joe's mind behind that.
It was interesting. I don't remember a lot of extra cameras around. So I don't know how many cameras they use for the shoots of this, like when we were in press conference settings or in locker room settings. I remember seeing, some cameras, but I'm usually assumed that's usually Bengals media related. I guess it wasn't. But I'll say it didn't feel intrusive. I will say that. I thought Hard Knocks was going to be really intrusive when they did that series at the end of the year with the 4 AFC North teams. And it really just I never noticed.
Yeah. That's a big change for Hard Knocks because when I covered the team, I don't know what year it was, but they were on for the preseason training camp version. Yep. They were everywhere. Yeah, it was like nonstop because that was the time I've told the story before where Marvin kind of shot me down on my Oklahoma drill question. And I was thinking like, oh man, that one doesn't show up on HBO.
Yep.
Yeah. Another thing that came out this week that's pretty nonsensical is a picture of Drew Sample and a selfie with Taylor Swift. Did you have any thoughts on that?
I kind of laughed at it. I don't know how. I guess it was he and his wife, right? Because they're the ones that had the cowboy hats on, and then Taylor Swift's on the other side of it. But who'd have thought? And maybe there's been another Bengal that's met her. Who'd have thought that if I'd have told you there's a Bengals player that's going to get in a selfie with Taylor Swift, you'd have gone, well, that's probably Joe Burrow, right? Or Jamar Chase. Drew Sample, really?
Never in a million years. If you gave me 150, you could have even told me, hey, it was at Tight End University that it happened. I still wouldn't have guessed Drew Sample until like my 4th or 5th choice.
No, I got a great. It's a bad one on me, but and Drew Sample's a very nice guy, by the way. This was during the COVID games where we couldn't go to the locker room and they'd pop different players up on the Zoom for us to interview after games. And I can't, it was late in the season that, they weren't going anywhere. Burrow had been hurt. And so this was like, they'd already given us like 5 or 6 players and we all were kind of at the stage of we don't need any, but we appreciate it. I even said it. So PJ Combs, the director of media relations, pops on. He goes, guys, I'm going to get Drew Sample. And I literally said, Jesus Christ, PJ, we don't need Drew Sample. Right as Drew Sample's picture comes up on the screen.
Did he hear it?
He did, and he just kind of smiled because I think it felt like, yeah, I don't need this either. We didn't ask him much. It was quick and over. I'm like, so he came back up. I said, PJ, I apologize. I said, but honestly, man, I said, I think this might have been like week 14 or 15. There's really nothing to write about a team going nowhere. And the last guy that any of us need to talk to, because he didn't even factor in the game. He's just a nice enough guy that they went to and go, hey, you mind doing a Zoom for a couple minutes with the media? And he's like, sure, I'll do it. But there was never going to be a relevant quote that anybody was going to use from Drew Sample. And I get to the frustration point with some of that stuff where I just got to say something, and I did. And I don't regret it because I meant what I said, and it's not personal to Drew Sample. I just didn't need anybody else, A, and B, the last person I needed at that point was Drew Sample.
Yeah, or PJ. I mean, PJ is awesome. Bengals media relations are awesome. So it's funny, though, because that media relations role is sometimes at odds with what we want as media in the sense of like getting those interviews. They always want like, who's nicest, who's going to be most willing, who can do this. And it's like, guys, if he doesn't matter at all, we don't care. It doesn't matter how good of a talker he is. Like, Xavier is a big issue with that because it's like every year it's kind of like 1 or 2 chosen guys who we get 750 times because they're the best public speaker. And it's like, well, that's great. But if they're not one of the 2 best players on the team, we probably don't need to hear from him that much.
And that happened Zoom year a lot. It felt like we cycled through the same 10 players every week. And it got to the point of literally, what is this guy going to say? I mean, what else can we ask? There's nothing else to ask. There's nothing.
Takes me back to the Vinny Ray years.
Yeah, correct. Vinny's a super nice guy.
Yeah, Vinny was on every other press conference.
Hey, you got to have a couple of go-to nice guys after tough losses, right? I mean, you'll go to sometimes the Stars and they don't want to talk, or they're shunning, giving quick one-word answers. You got to have those go-to guys to give you something. But after yet another loss and a lost season that honestly didn't matter, I don't need a 7th guy and the 7th guy or 8th guy or whatever the number was being Drew Sample.
Who was the guy that wore bow ties and ended up like hosting a TV show after he left the Bengals? Another linebacker.
Yeah, my gosh almighty. Gosh, he was a linebacker, wasn't he?
Yeah, another linebacker.
Oh, my heavens.
Real nice guy, but was constantly doing media stuff.
Yes. Oh, man, this is going to kill me.
What
was it?
It'll pop in your head later. Just bring it up when it does. You'll think of him. Yeah. All right. You got anything else on the Bengals, or asking anything time here?
No, I mean, Shamar Stewart's agent went on a podcast and sounds like he's still dug in on his side of things. And
his dad also tweeted about it.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I know people have taken their camps. I'm not going to try to sway you one way or another. The bottom line is, they're dug in completely on this, and I just don't know how they resolve it. And I know somebody else tweeted out that Trey Hendrickson was working out somewhere around this area. I don't know if that means anything. I don't think it does. I think it just means he's in this area working out. That's all it means.
Yeah. Shout out to Fairfield High School or wherever he's running.
Wherever, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Thunder won the NBA Finals in 7 games. Brutal Game 7 to watch with Tyrese Halliburton blowing his Achilles and it becoming kind of a blowout. Overall thoughts on the series? To me, one thing I want to ask you about is the Pacers. I know there are some Pacers fans around here. To me, that seems like a team that's not in a good position to get back.
No, and so here's the thing. There was a lot of criticism of Tyrese Halliburton, right, after Game 5 of, Kobe wouldn't have come out, Jordan wouldn't have come out, and then he plays Game 6 and does okay, but obviously he was physically compromised, and maybe this is a lesson to all. If a player feels like he's physically compromised, then leave him alone. I mean, just let him heal up, because that led to now probably compromising the Pacers' 2025-2026 season.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I think Rick Carlisle is just an incredible coach.
I think he's outstanding. Yes.
This group probably was an overachieving group to begin with.
Agreed.
So I don't think they were positioned well, even if Tyrese Halliburton is perfect going into next year. I don't think they were positioned well to get back to the situation again. Now you're dealing with that this offseason. And it really sucks for Halliburton because you play this well and then you tear your Achilles at the same time. I mean, he had just earned a lot of goodwill and value as a player in these playoffs. I don't know exactly what his contract situation is, but that is a terrible time to tear your Achilles and now put all of what you just did back into question in terms of your value and what teams might be willing to pay you on your next contract.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the East is a tough conference to get through. I really do. I mean, on paper, still Boston's probably the best team in there, right? And, if they can maybe change their style of play from always playing a game of horse to maybe occasionally settling for a mid-range jumper or a fast break layup rather than a fast break kick out three, then maybe they'll advance further in this thing because they certainly have the talent to do so. It was just a shame that it ended like that. Probably OKC wins even if Tyrese Halliburton plays that game fully healthy, but it's a we'll never know moment, right?
Yeah.
I will say TJ McConnell in his place, heck, for a while, he felt like he scored a basket every trip down the floor.
Yeah, well, that was what I said after, what was it, game 5 or 6, where he came in, he was playing so well, and then they took him out, and they ended up losing the game by, double digits, in a blowout fashion, and it was like, why didn't you just leave McConnell in the way he was exactly. Playing? But,
do you believe OKC is positioned to make continuous title runs?
Well, I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren is a really great combo in this current era where we're no longer doing kind of like the 3 superstar things. We're doing more of a overall team with one or two superstar type deals. I love Chet Holmgren as a piece on one of those teams because I don't think he's at that superstar level, but I think he's so valuable in the team concept because of his mobility and length on defense, the way he can help you protecting the rim. I mean, what he showed in that game 7 defensively, I thought was as impactful as anything for OKC.
Yeah, I don't know what the context of this tweet was I saw. I think it was on Twitter. It was Allen Iverson. I don't know what game he was at. It might have been game 7. And the thing is, a quote from him. I didn't hear him say it, but it says Allen Iverson on Chet Holmgren on Chet Holmgren. Quote, Chet Holmgren is a bad blanker. It's like, whoa. I mean, game knows game, right?
I believe that. I'll tell you, my actual secret fantasy is that the Spurs find a way to get Chet and Wemby on the same team.
Wow.
Because those dudes are versatile enough and skilled enough, you could play them together. That length, the mobile length works so well in the NBA right now. You have to be able to move as a big man, but you still need those guys that are over 7-foot wingspans. I think they can really make an impact. I would kill to have 2 guys that are skilled that can move like that, even if they're skinny.
In the era of 5-out basketball, they start 2 7-footers.
Yes, and that's exactly what that would be like, right? Wemby and Chet on the same team. Right. I love that idea. It'll never happen, but I'm excited. Now I've got to go talk myself into rooting for a guy that had an under 500 season last year in college with not only him, but another lottery pick on the same team.
Oh, so the Spurs, that's right. The Spurs did take the Rutgers kid, right?
Yeah. Harper.
Yeah.
How about that?
I'm still trying to figure that one. If you told any college coach, I'm going to give you 2 top 10 draft picks, you would think you could at least make the NCAA tournament. At worst, have a winning record, right?
They went under 500, Skinny.
Yes, correct.
Under 500. And everyone's telling me how great he's going to be. And he might be. I get the measurables are good, but man, that's tough to talk myself into right now when I look at them going 15-17 last year at Rutgers.
I did not watch the draft because it makes my head spin because then you got all these trades that take place. I didn't realize, who was it? Was it Brooklyn that had 5 first-round picks, I think?
Oh, I didn't see that either. I didn't realize.
Some team had 5 because they were panning each one of the pick that whoever was grading it, they didn't like any of the picks. I'm like, you had 5 of them. One of them's got to hit. At least one of them's got to hit.
At least has to be a decent selection at this point of the game when we don't know anything. You have to like one of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. I did see that Dylan Harper's first year salary is going to be more than his father's career earnings, I believe. Ron?
Ron. Yeah. Wow.
All right. Another Ask Skinny Anything question. When's the last time you had a meal where you couldn't stop thinking about it? This is actually from me. The next day, it was so good, you just couldn't stop thinking about it.
Man, every time, and I don't go often, but man, every time I have a Ruby steak, I always have just a little bit left over, and I try not to tempt myself
overnight,
in the morning. No, first thing in the morning going, man, that piece of steak's in there. It was so damn good. And I stopped thinking about it. And then I'm like, no. And it's gone by 10 o'clock in the morning. It was so good the day before, but there's so much, that they give you a lot and I never can seem to finish it. But it's always just a good bright sized piece of meat that you just can't stop thinking about grabbing it and eating it.
I had one of those meals yesterday at lunch.
That's why
and the great thing about this is it is cheap, it's easy, it's simple. It's not even like a big fancy meal. You can only get it from 11 to 3. The Pretzel Place down in Bellevue. Have you ever had it?
Is that the name of the joint, the Pretzel Place?
That's the name of the Pretzel Place.
No, where's it close to in Bellevue?
Right by Fessler's there. That used to be Pasquale's, on Fairfield, the main drag there. It's not very far down. It's impossible to miss. Tiny little family-owned joint. They're only open from 11 to 3, 6 days a week.
So what did you have for a meal?
I got on the jalapeno cheddar twist, I got a spicy Italian sandwich on it.
Okay.
And when I tell you I might go back there after this well, I'm not because I got to go to a visitation. But if I didn't have to go to a visitation, I would honestly go back there for lunch today. It was that good.
Wow.
I can't believe I've never eaten there.
Shout out to the Pretzel Place.
Shout out to the Pretzel Place. I would recommend it. Also, we'll wrap it up with this. Unless you had something else on that.
No, I was going to say, Pretzel Place, if you get some added business from this, we'll take a little kickback in the form of gift cards.
Yeah. Throw me a free. I don't know if we're allowed to do that payola or whatever, but
maybe.
That was just that way we were joking.
It was an unsolicited shout out on your part, really.
Yeah, exactly. Is it officially deodorant stripe on the outside of your underwear weather?
That's always the case. I mean, why wouldn't you?
So you don't even worry about it being humid or a little extra swamp ass elevation. You're just like all the time.
Yes, the worst thing in the world that's happened to me in the last year plus was the guy on the flight in between me and my buddy who smelled like just pure ass. And thank God. And I don't wear cologne, but I remember I had cologne in like my briefcase.
Did you spray him down?
No, I sprayed it on my finger, rubbed it under my nose. So that's what I smelled as opposed to him. I looked at my buddy and I'm like, and he knew what I did, and I kind of passed it behind the guy to him, and he did the same thing. It was. I just don't understand how you can't smell yourself at that point.
That's the weird thing. It's like, I mean, the second you get a little bit of a funk going on, it's like, oh God, is that?
Yes, correct.
I mean, how do you avoid that personally? Because you're the first person to smell it always.
Yes, no doubt. I will say this: it is so damn hot. I got in my car to go to a meeting last night, and I left at like 6:15. It was still 90-something degrees out, and my car had been sitting out in the driveway. And I started it, and obviously you're trying to blow all the hot air out, right? So I'm driving because we got kind of a time frame we got to go by to go pick up my buddy. And I don't sweat like when I played softball in heat like this, yeah, I'd sweat, but I had buddies that would sweat through 7 shirts. I'd sweat, but not crazy. Dude, I was drenched by the time the air conditioner came on.
I'm the former. I'm the guy that can sweat through 7 shirts no matter what when it's not even that hot out. So yeah, this weather is a little bit brutal on me.
Yeah, no question.
Problematic. That's all I got.
All right, fast and to the point. It's that time of year, to be honest with you. We're kind of in between.
Not much going on.
It's basically just a baseball themed thing. And the good part was there wasn't stuff to bitch about. There was stuff to talk good about the Reds. And hopefully
that's right. It was a good Red show, I felt like.
It was, absolutely. Yeah. I love it. Keep the questions coming as well. Hit up the hashtag Ask Skinny Anything on the Xverse. For Rick Boring, I'm Richard Skinner. It's been the Skinny Podcast, the weekly Potpourri edition, presented by Blake, the Attorney Maislin.